12 to work together. So it tells us that we're going to journalize the transactions shown in question assets for Bourget Law Firm. We have our cash receipts journal and we have a general journal. When we look, here we have our transactions, September 1st and December 31st. So September 1st, it says that we signed a contract to provide legal services to Johnson Corporation for 6 months. We received cash in advance for $12,000, receipt number 345. So we are a law firm and we are providing those legal services, but it's going to be 6 months worth of work, and they've paid us even though we have not done that work yet. So we need to go to our cash receipts journal. We're going to start with our date, September 1st. Now we are receiving cash receipts journal, so we're going to debit cash. We're going to debit cash for the full amount, $12,000. Okay, then I need to credit. What I'm going to do is we have our chart of accounts, so let's go ahead and look at our chart of accounts and see what our options are. Now, if you remember from the lecture, it said when we are receiving that in the future, that is actually a liability. So when we look at our liability choices, we are actually going to do unearned legal fees, because in the example we looked at rent income, we're not getting rent right now, okay? We're doing unearned legal fees. Okay, and we are going to credit that for $12,000. And then we need to put in our document number, which is receipt 345. All right, now our next transaction, December 31st, it says that we are journalizing the adjusting entry for legal services performed for Johnson Corporation. So now we're looking at, okay, from that advance payment, how much of that have we actually earned now? Okay, so we're going to go to our general journal. And we're going to look at our adjusting entries part. So I'm looking at December 31st is our date. Okay, so remember in the lecture, we need to figure out how much was each month. So we need to look at this part up here. We received $12,000, so we're going to take 12,000, and we received that for 6 months of work. So 12,000 divided by 6. That means each month of work was $2,000. So now we need to figure out, okay, well, how many months have we actually worked? So we did this on September 1st was when we received the money, and we're doing our adjusting entry at the end of the accounting period, which is December 31st. So that means we have worked September, October, November, and December. So we have done 4 of the 6 months of work for Johnson Corporation. So we figured out to be $2,000 a month times those 4 months, which will be $8,000. So since it's going to be $8,000, first thing that we want to do is we want to get rid of that $8,000 out of our unearned legal fees. Now, when we look up here, remember we credited. So to get rid of that, we are going to debit unearned legal fees for $8,000. And then we're going to credit what our revenue or our income would be. Now, when we look at our chart of accounts, when we look at our revenue, what type of revenue we're making, here we're going to do a revenue of legal fees. Okay? So I'm going to go and put legal fees, and that would be a credit of $8,000. Okay, our next step is use the information in question assets to update the T accounts for each journal entry. Enter the date, the type of entry, and the amount. If no entry is required, leave the answer field blank. Record entries in the order in which they were journalized. So we're going to go up here. We're going to record this first one and then the second one. So our first one, we're debiting cash. So I'm going to put in our date, September 1. I don't need to have a description for this one. And I debited cash for $12,000. Okay, then I credited unearned legal fees for 12,000. So I'm going to go to that T account, September 1st. I don't need a description and a credit of 12,000. Next one are my adjusting entries. So first I'm going to go to my unearned legal fees. December 31st is my date. I am going to give it a description because it's an adjustment. So I'm going to just label that as ADJ period. And then I have a debit, of 8,000. So when I figure that out, that means that I still have $4,000 credit of unearned legal fees. Okay, and then the last one is my legal fees. So December 31st, again, this is an adjusting entry. So label that. And I have a credit of 8,000.